Ahern is here. He is the president of Blue Eagle Products, a company up in Northern California. Good morning, Robert. How are you?
Unbelievable. How are you today?
I'm doing unbelievable as well, and I appreciate you being here and also for cleaning the cove here. Now, listen, I promoted the fact that we're going to get our nerd on here, and we're going to put our Bill Nye the Science hats on here, and Bill Nye the Science guy hats on, and really talk about the science behind what you guys do, because it's really fascinating. So tell us how Blue Eagle Products is going to clean the cove.
Sure. And really, we can't take all the credit for this. This is something Mother Nature's been doing for millions of years. We just help to make it economically viable. So what we do is we collect naturally occurring live microorganisms that exist in nature. We harvest them, we ferment them into super concentrations, and then we deploy them on problem areas or substrates such as the bird guano at La Jolla Cove.
Okay, so what? So where do you do this other than the cove?
We do it all over the place. I've done work, any commercial building in downtown San Diego probably has something called a sewage ejector. People don't think about that. If you're 3 stories underground and you flush a toilet, where does it go? Those can be smelly operations. To zoos, to animal shelters, to alpaca farms.
What?
Oh, yeah. We solve odor issues and waste issues all over the country.
Come on. Okay, so so let's slow it down here. So you harvest what exactly, and how do you harvest microorganisms or whatever? How do you do that?
Well, the easiest way these days is to call an organization called the American Type Culture Collection, or the ATTC. And they have actually a library, think of it as like a seed library, of all the known microorganisms. Okay. And they're one of the agencies that categorize microorganisms into different categories. Obviously, some are quite dangerous, think smallpox or anthrax. Some of them are completely harmless. If you're resting your elbows on the table in front of you, that table's covered with all kinds of microorganisms that we just exist with on a daily level.
Well, now I'm not going to touch anything.
You need them to live. They live inside your gut and help you process food.
Okay.
No, microorganisms are a necessary part of existence on this planet. And so what we do is we take the organisms that like to eat bird guano, and we super concentrate them. Well, in fact, it's not us applying it. Our distribution company, Blue Eagle Distribution, which is a separate entity, they will take the product. They will apply it to the guano on the cove, allowing it to soak in but not run off. The key here is nothing's going into the ocean. Those microorganisms will begin to eat the guano, and anything that eats needs to excrete, and they will excrete carbon dioxide and water. What they do is they eat the guano and they turn it into energy for themselves so that they can reproduce, and they excrete carbon dioxide and water. And this is done through a process called the Krebs cycle.
I told you we'd get to the Krebs cycle. Here we are. All right, keep going. What's the Krebs cycle?
Okay, the Krebs cycle was first documented by Hans Adolf Krebs, and he won the Nobel Prize for it in 1953. Basically, it's how all aerobic cells metabolize, even the cells in our bodies. He called it the citric acid cycle, so it's actually known as the citric acid cycle or the Krebs cycle. And it's the way that cells respirate, how they actually make energy for themselves and grow. Okay,
so these microorganisms, what type of microorganism particularly likes bird poop, and is it as specific as this type of bird's poop or just bird poop?
No, bird poop. Bird poop is a lot of ammonias, different types of nitrogens, and some other organic material. So different organisms will work better on different types of poop. However, once we talk about the general category of birds, that's fairly easy.
Okay.
When we get into meat eaters, that would be a different type of organism, or grass eaters like cows.
Wow, so the alpaca farms.
Yes, exactly.
It's a different thing than you're doing here.
Slightly different, but yes, we can tweak the formulas specific to the substrate that we're trying to metabolize.
This is the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. Okay, so you have this organism. What's the name of this particular microorganism you're using here?
Actually, we're going to be using a blend of 7 different organisms, but they're all bacillus. There's some pseudomonads in there, but they're all type 1 or classified as type 1, which means they're completely safe, non-pathogenic.
What if you ate them? What if I drank a glass of this?
Wouldn't hurt you at all.
Come on.
Wouldn't hurt you at all.
I dare you, Robert. I dare you to do that.
Hey, I had a sales guy down in Southern California. We eventually had to get rid of him because he was drinking our floor cleaner to prove how safe it was. I said, look, please don't drink the floor cleaner. I know it's safe, but it just freaks people out.
We're running out of it. Okay, so we got this particular 7 organisms here. You spray it on the rocks. It doesn't run off. Carbon dioxide is emitted, so the global warming people are going to be upset by this. But also you get some water. So you get a little bit of water, you get some CO2, which is no big deal. I was just joking there. But then they expand, right?
They will reproduce.
Okay, there's more now.
Single cell reproduction. They'll split and divide and keep eating. They live to eat and reproduce.
Well, aren't they just going to take over the rock? I mean, what's going to happen when there's gajillions of these things?
You won't even notice. As the food source for them begins to dwindle, they naturally die off, and they'll revert down to the kind of naturally existing levels. Because these bacteria exist on those rocks right now, just not in sufficient quantities to solve the problem that we've created by allowing habitat for the birds.
Okay.
And by the way, let's touch on that carbon dioxide real quick,
yeah,
just so the global warming folks do understand, because, get this straight. I'm a clean water freak from Northern California, so I'm an environmentalist too. But the type of carbon dioxide that is contributing to global warming or climate change is carbon that's been trapped under the ground for millions and millions of years that we're now taking out of the ground and putting into the atmosphere. The carbon dioxide that's produced by these single-cell organisms is short-cycle carbon dioxide. In other words, the plant life grew in the ocean, the fish ate the plant, the cormorant ate the fish, the cormorant pooped out the stuff, and that's only been the course of, a couple of years. This has no impact on global warming.
All right, let's back it up here a second, Robert. How did you get into the microorganism cleaning up poop business?
Wow, interesting story. I was a CEO of a manufacturing company in the gift industry. We developed those little word magnets that you made poetry with on the refrigerator.
Come on, are you serious?
I have those. I have those. Magnetic poetry.
I was at this awesome little diner up in Big Bear. No, not Big Bear. What's up in Coachella?
India or
the place I went to, the park. Joshua Tree. And they had it there, and I made the greatest poem ever while waiting for someone to be in the bathroom. And I took a picture of it. I'm going to find it here, and I'm going to recite this poem. It was beautiful. So you used to do that?
Yes. The ownership of the company, it was a closely held company, and they wanted to pull a little Enron. It was legal because they owned it. So they started selling off the pieces and the property and ended up closing the business. So I got what I like to call a bronze parachute. I had to go back to work, but not for 3 to 6 months, somewhere in there. And I had a good friend who owned a group. He owned a Roto-Rooter franchise holding company. He owned about 8 or 9 different Roto-Rooter franchises. And he said, Robert, I know you have a background in microbiology. He says, what are you doing? I said, well, not much right now. And he said, why don't you take a look at this product? We would like to sell this microbial-based drain cleaner. And, I'm too busy to look at it. See if you can do something with it. Well, the first thing I did was rip the formula apart and redesign it, change the organisms that were in it, and increase the quantity.
How do you know how to do that?
Oh, college. This is basic stuff. It may sound like rocket scientists to folks that aren't very familiar with it.
Like me.
Well, yeah, I wasn't going to say that, Mike. But bioremediation has been happening for thousands of years. It's a common process that in today's modern age we just don't think about. We tend to run for the chemicals because we're an instant gratification society, and microorganisms do not work instantly. They take microscopic bites, and so it's going to take some time for this to happen. Human nature is, I want to see it happen now.
Yeah.
The microbial bioremediation process can take anywhere from hours to days or even several weeks, depending on how much substrate we're trying to clean up.
Wow. Okay. Now, will we ever get to a point where we use these in our homes?
I have a question. Is this the same stuff I put down my toilet because I'm on a septic system?
Very similar, yes. Those are slightly different organisms.
Okay.
But yes, it's the same concept. We're using naturally occurring microorganisms that exist in nature. We super concentrate them so that you can put them into your septic tank so it can eat the accumulation of waste that's in there.
There you go.
Very good.
So you redesigned the whatever microbiorganisms, whatever, and then you started Blue Eagle cleaning products?
No, actually, this is a couple of generations after the fact. Blue Eagle has been in existence now about 3 years. It's kind of my third generation company. This is the first one where I don't have any partners. And let me tell you, it is going much more smoothly. I'm a scientist, and the partners I had were kind of business folks, and they didn't really understand what we were doing. And they were more interested in spending $30,000 on logo creation than actually solving problems.
Yeah, good for you. Well, listen, I'm impressed, Robert. And one more quick question here, and then we're going to talk with the owner of the Brockton Villa, which, by the way, if you've never been to the Brockton Villa, Robert, next time you're down here, you got to go, and you can smell the fruits of your labor. And
absolutely, I will go. And I think she'll be very happy with this process. Typically, with bioremediation, odor elimination happens very quickly. Odors are typically caused by unwanted microorganisms and some of the raw material. So in bird guano, you've got ammonia, which is a smelly substance, and then you've got unwanted and unhealthful organisms that are growing there, off-gassing things like methane and hydrogen sulfide, both of which are not good. So we take some desirable organisms, we put them over the guano. These guys are actually so robust that they'll out-compete and starve out the organisms that are producing the noxious odors. And this really happens quite quickly. I don't want to make any dramatic claims. I'd like the proof to be in the pudding, but I suspect that the folks around La Jolla Cove will be very happy even after the first application.
Well, I'll be there on Friday, so I'll judge it on Friday at least a little bit. Now, we had someone call in earlier who's from La Jolla and says, listen, it's not the birds, it's the seals. What do you think of that? And could there be anything to be done with the seal smell, which is a little different?
Yes, something can be done. It's going to be difficult. Something can always be done. The question is the solution worse than the problem? And so it could possibly be the seals. I actually haven't been on site. Blue Eagle Distribution, which is the contractor down in San Diego that's actually doing the work and getting the product from us, will be doing the work. So I haven't seen it. And I know that there are some big concerns from the environmental sector, which, I support. Nothing is going to run off into the ocean, and they can't apply the product where the wave action or high tide lines are going to hit. And there could be a significant amount of feces from sea lions or seals in addition to guano there. However, they are going to be treating 37,000 square feet, which is going to be the bulk of the area. And so I would anticipate a dramatic reduction in odor.
Well, this is wonderful. Listen, Robert, it's been a pleasure talking to you. And I just love this. And first of all, I just am so impressed by really smart people who do things like this and that we never think of, right? We never think of all the things that you just spoke about and the fact that you supply products for zoos and alpaca farms and all this. So I just think that's wonderful, and I'm glad you're helping us out with the Cove here.
Sure. Anything to keep the world in a better place.
I dig that. That's why we're here. Robert, thank you very much. I hope we can talk again.
Have a great day.
Thank you, sir. Keep up the good work.